The PWR presents What If? What if John Cena turned heel? What if China became the first woman world heavyweight champion? What if Owen Hart never passed away? What if Magnum TA never got into a car crash? What if Hulk Hogan stayed with the AWA? What if Shawn Michaels signed with WCW? What if WCW won the Monday Night Wars? What if Vince McMahon's WrestleMania failed? What if?
Reflectionites, welcome all. It's Hallows Eve, Halloween, whatever you want to call it. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter if it's Halloween, Christmas, St. Patrick's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day. When the PWR podcast at the PWS Network on the YouTubes does a what if, we do a what if, right? We have the crystal ball in hand. We change the future of professional wrestling. We change the careers of wrestlers, past, present, and future. It doesn't matter because we control the destinies. We control the time continuum. We skew it. Whatever you thought that happened, we change it up. It goes from this way to this way. We loop it down, but it doesn't matter here or there. This is What If on the Pro Wrestling Reflection, on the YouTubes, on the PWSO YouTubes, on the Hamin Media Group at Podbean.com, on the Big Vito brand. You know all the spiels here. I am the magnanimous one. I am the scholarly one. But most importantly, I am the glorious one. I'm Professor Emmett Brown. I am your friend of mine, the Professor Chababa Cruz, and I'm not here alone. I have to have my Marty McFly with me. I have to have the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, Mr. Dum Dum Duo, and it's on the iron stomach one, the man that has the Hall of Wonder, all of the action figures, all the belts. He's even better than the 40-year-old virgin, and the only difference is he's not a virgin, not like the 40-year-old virgin. He's your friend of mine, the Tommy Wonder. How you doing, my friend? He was holding an NWA television belt.
World Television Championship. I decided since you're coming in all hot with the Halloween gimmick, I would dress up as Shawn Michaels for Halloween.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, there you go. You had to pose. So you're posing for the 12 viewers on the YouTube, so that's great. So, you know.
Now I'm taking these glasses off because they hurt, and I'm taking this hat off because I'm sweating. So, sweating in October, I'll take it because I wasn't sweating a couple weeks ago. I was freezing. So, but before we get on to our what if, it's Ray's favorite thing. It came in the mail yesterday.
And also, wait, it's Donnie's favorite thing. It's also T and Coupon's favorite thing, too. So we got to shout out our Reflectionites.
Colin already spoiled it for me because there's some. Now I'm going to open it up, and what he said should be in here is not going to be in here. I'm going to be disappointed. So, but there it is. And I'll have you know, Professor, because I feel like they're coming pretty rapid fire now. I don't know why that first one took so long. Maybe I ordered it way early, but it seems like they come about every 4 weeks. So I went in yesterday and I changed it to annual, and I paid $280 or whatever. So for the next 12 months, I'll have one once a month. So you ready?
I am ready. The Reflectionites are ready.
So, I also want to say that I was using my trusty Silas, Last Real Men? The Last Real Men's pocket knife, Silas Young. I'm sure this at some point was in a pro wrestling crate.
It had to be, because once you have a Silas Young pocket knife, or, you know, it has to come from a crate.
Right. Like my Greg the Hammer Valentine bottle opener. All right. So I got to cut open with my pocket knife, the Last Real Men's pocket knife. We're going to hide the card so we don't know. It says...
Before you even look, you've hit a home run, or it's been like a B average for the last two crates. So hopefully it's going to be an A- here. So let's go ahead.
Listen, you I told you who was going to be in the next box. There's a couple, like, I don't give a shit about ICP, really Mick Foley, but my man Sting, and I'm telling you, I wasn't let down. You're going to know right away. As soon as I opened it, it was like, Merry Christmas, Tommy Wonder, and Happy Birthday to Boot. Are you ready for this? I don't think you're ready for this jelly, dog.
This is a shirt.
I might wear this tonight. It's definitely going to get worn in Las Vegas. Are you ready?
Oh, what's the shirt? I want to see it. Oh, it's the Capital Combat 90 official shirt of Sting and RoboCop. Now that
Sting,
that's nostalgic right there.
Oh, this one, it's saved by the fact that it's red. Not a big fan of the guy, but I don't hate the guy either. But my bad. I thought it was Vader. It's not Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about a Halloween situation station.
Oh, you got Mankind.
Bloody. In red shirt. Red's my favorite color, so that's probably going to get worn. I still haven't worn the Kenny Omega or the Candice LeRae shirt.
That's what you got Vegas for, your Wonder Vacation.
And you know what, Colin? No mask. But I did get a Randy Savage Brawler Balls, even though there's only one. Stress ball. I think this next, well, let's get this out of the way. Hector Hatchet and the Suidswella.
That's the ICP you was expecting, so at least it's a pin and not a shirt.
I'd rather be pins than a shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at this. Tales from the Crypt Closet. Looks damn like Eddie from Van Halen, or from Iron Maiden to me, but this is a comic book. Guerrilla Publishing. Oh, it's that chick. I'll take it because I don't want her on a shirt either.
Abaddon, yeah.
Abaddon in the comic.
I was about to say you got a CM Punk comic book that no one bought, and they put it in the Pro Wrestling Crate.
Oh man, this is great because ICP, Cactus Jack. I don't remember who else is supposed to be in this thing. This is actually pretty cool. Doesn't look like it's a chase.
It looks like the theme of Halloween is consistent right now.
Yeah.
Danhausen.
Frankenhausen.
It's very evil. Yes.
Fun fact, King of the Nighttime World, huge Universal Monsters fan. I'm a fan of the original Werewolf, Lon Chaney Jr., Bela Lugosi.
No autograph pictures? Oh.
I don't know who it is, because everybody I didn't want, I'm about to find out I'm wrong. Oh, I thought I finally got two for once, because sometimes they give you two. Remember the first one was Lance Archer.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the second one? Oh, Tyler Breeze. I'm going to let you see it before me.
It's nostalgic. I'll give you that. It's very nostalgic. It's the very 90s.
That's awesome. The Warlord. No mask, Colin.
Well, the picture has a mask, so, it's half a mask. So.
Well, damn near everybody had a mask. Sting has face paint. Cactus Jack has that other thing. Well, I'm 3 for 3 with autograph 8x10s that will not find their way in the frames. So, here it says, Mask and Paint 5. Pro Wrestling Crate. Spoiler alert. The other side of this card contains the contents of this crate. So next month, you're going to be stunned that when I re-signed, these are the names that I saw when I still re-signed. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Scott Hall.
Too sweet.
And immediately ruined by John Moxley.
Well, yin for yang. That's the old saying.
One Man Gang / Akeem. We don't know which one it's going to be.
I hope you get Akeem.
I just saw a video of him wrestling on an indie show, teaming with Demolition. They look like 3 old motherfuckers that escaped the damn old house, and they wrestled 3 young jobber-looking guys that are probably over in their town. And the guy challenged him to a strut off, and he did Akeem's dance. And then finally Akeem, One Man Gang, because he wasn't being Akeem, pulled his dashiki out, threw it on his head, and did the dance, and the place went banana. That's old. Next, Kenny Omega. I like that. Immediately ruined by the Young Bucks.
Oh, you got an AEW themed crate.
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett.
Mm-hmm.
Then a guy I don't know very much about, although I take his side on the internet lately, Joey Janela. Isn't that the one that got punked out by Enzo?
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, Evil Uno immediately is wiped out by my new favorite tag team today. I didn't like them at all at first. Now they're my favorite. One of them looks like you. Scissor me, Professor.
Oh, okay.
The Acclaimed.
The Acclaimed. Yeah. I look like Anthony Bowens. That's okay.
Yeah. Except, right, he looks like he'd be a top. You look more like a bottom. So he's a bigger guy.
Yeah, and I'm giving the finger to TWR now. So that being said, you know, I think you should not read the spoilers because then I want the reaction.
No, the spoiler tells you what's in the box.
Right.
This tells you what's in next month's box so that you'll order it. I only ordered the first one because it said Adam Cole and whatever.
Oh, okay.
But the second one had Johnny Gargano, and I got Hogan.
I thought you just want to go wild card. That's what I'm just saying. I want you to go wild card and be like, what the hell is this in here? But anyway, neither here nor there. So TW is satisfied again. I think it's a B+ Russell Crate again, in my humble opinion. So, you know, for all the reflectionites that like it, of course, the TN Couponers, the Dimes of Destructions, and of course, the executive producer extraordinaire, Big Ray Hernandez. This is their favorite segment, and we always like to give the reflectionites what they want because it's their show. It's not our show. We just love talking this shit, but that's what makes us different than all nostalgic podcasts here.
Because people give us credence in recording it.
Of course, not only that, but you know what? Other nostalgic podcasts, you know, they could talk about an episode of SmackDown from 2003 and talk about the whole episode, and you bore me to death. I go, shh, I don't want to do that to y'all. That's why we do all what we do. We do the episodics, we do the spotlights, we do the rivalries, we do the movies, and now we're doing what ifs. So TW, are you ready for the what if? Because this what if is dedicated to you. This is dedicated to your, you know, Mount Rushmore of your favorite wrestler. It is dedicated to the total package Lex Luger.
He's on the secondary Mount Rushmore. He's not on the first.
Well, it's still a Mount Rushmore. You know, there's levels to Mount Rushmore.
Well, you know what? To be fair, my Mount Rushmore is made up of the two guys that I was the biggest fan of and the two guys that I wanted to be. So, in theory, there should be two separate Mount Rushmores. One, who I think are the four best ever, and unfortunately Warrior wouldn't make that list. Brett and Shawn still would. I still think I'd put Sting on it. And then after that, it would be a toss-up between Steamboat, Macho Man, or Mr. Perfect. That would round out my four who I think were the best ever. So, but for certain, if you're talking about influences on me as a kid, as a fan, Sting, Warrior, Luger is on that list. And I'd have to say the fourth guy would be Hogan because, I mean, to this day, and I wrote this on Facebook once, and actually got a pretty decent reply. I'm going to ask you this question. Can you remember the last time you walked down a ramp or up a ramp and didn't immediately start going like this and throwing your fingers like you were walking down the hall of Madison Square Garden the night Hulk Hogan beat the Iron Sheik? That is an image that is embedded in my head for my entire life since I'm, 12, 13 years old. I cannot walk down a ramp, whether it's at a store, at a mall, at a wrestling show, or whatever. I can't do it without starting to go like this, or at least thinking about it.
If it's not that, it would be, you know, doing the prayers, because Hogan always did the prayers and that too. So, you know, Hogan's a very big influence in the Professor's life too, no matter what, you know, even though he fucked other people's wives, and then of course he's, you know, semi-racist, but that's okay. He's not racist, semi-prejudiced, but neither here nor there.
Definitely prejudiced.
Yeah, everybody's prejudiced. But anyway, this is what if Lex Luger got the opportunity to win the WWE title in Detroit, Michigan, or was it Auburn Hills? I forget which one, but it doesn't matter. Auburn Hills, Michigan, at SummerSlam 1993 against Yokozuna. So, you know, the difference, TW, between the last what if and this what if, because the DX what if has so many variables of real life, and we booked it. This one's a little bit different to book it, TW, because there's nothing real life. Because if we talk about real life, you know, the real life is Vince. We already know this is not hindsight. This is actual facts. They wanted to put the torch to Lex Luger. They wanted to create another Hulk Hogan in Lex Luger, and it flopped. You know, Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard did not get the returns that they expected Reflectionites in, you know, Lex Luger becoming the next Hulk Hogan, becoming the next real American, whatever the case may be. So this one is a little bit not trickier in my humble opinion, Reflectionites, but I think it's just one of those things that we can just book it. Maybe the best way to book it is to book Luger beating Yokozuna and then booking it to WrestleMania and see where we go beyond, because I think the variable here, TW, would be this. If Lex Luger won the belt in SummerSlam 1993, the biggest question of the what if, would he have jumped ship to WCW in 1995? What say you?
So this is a loaded gun, and I have props. So first and foremost, I want to say, before we have the fun part of booking it, if this guy would have gotten that belt at SummerSlam, I honestly don't know if I've ever been somewhere where the world title changed hands. I've been to 3 WrestleManias. Hogan retained. I believe Undertaker was champ and beat Sid at WrestleMania 13, so it wasn't he won the belt. He won the belt. Okay, then I was there for that. So I was there when Taker won the world title. But I have been at pay-per-views where the IC title, I was at the greatest match of all times, Ricky Steamboat winning the title from Randy Savage. But if he would have won the title there was 2 things. One thing is Vince wanted to be at a WrestleMania. So in that regard, I blame Vince, because you shouldn't have did the Lex tour then. You should have done it after SummerSlam or after the Royal Rumble, and then, you know, win it at the thing. So I don't like that. The second reason why I think it didn't happen is Bruce Prichard, because he got stuck on the bus with Lex and said Lex was unbearable. And I think he ran out of favor, right? So I think because he was the way he was on that bus, which who the fuck would be happy to be on that bus? At first you're thinking, I don't have to bum for 6 or 3 months? Hell yeah. And then you realize I don't get to do shit else either, and I got to sleep on this thing? Then it becomes like boot camp, right? So I don't fault Lex at all. You come in at $1 million to be a bodybuilder, you're being pampered, and now you're on this thing, and he did it. I'll tell you, when I met him. I got a signature from that dude with a Lex name badge, and he was absolutely cordial. I kept watching that documentary where they said he was shitty to fans. I'm 100% going to say if he was, it was behind the scenes, not in the line. In the line, I watched that guy, 100 people at least, absolutely talk to the first guy like he did the last guy. There was no difference, right? Cordial, friendly. What do you want me to sign? It was free. He didn't charge nothing. He probably had it. He probably had his protein drink before, during, and after his appearances. He was on your tour. Each fat fuckers like Prichard, you know. So I just think that happened. However, and this is what I would say in a nutshell, I think if this happened, what was going to happen next was what happened to this guy, but playing the role of this guy would be this guy. And I think for me, if Luger would have won that belt, Bret Hart would have done to him what Hulk Hogan did to the Ultimate Warrior. Bret would have ended up getting the belt from Luger one way or the other, whether he lost it to Yoko back and then Luger won it or Bret won it. And I think if that would have happened, and if I was privy to that, like I was Hogan, because I'll be honest with you, Hogan was my god. You know, obviously I have a god, but he was my god of wrestling until he did that to the Warrior. And to me, I get it's business and protecting your spot and all that, but he's partly to blame for the Warrior being the laughing stock in some people's stories and all that, where I think if they would have gave the Warrior a fair shot and didn't take it away so soon, he would have been a better story as world champion, but Hogan ruined it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bret didn't have something to do with Lex not winning it in the first place, right? But it would have soured me on Bret. Like, Bret not losing the title to Shawn Michaels in Montreal, as petty as it seems to most, I get it, because I know what that means to Bret Hart. Technically, you got that Bret thing with WrestleMania 10, even though he didn't beat Lex Luger. But he was in it. But they went with him. Yeah. I'm saying Luger would have gotten the shaft. He would have been champion at SummerSlam, and he would have not been champion. That's one of your variables. But, again, the question I presented to you
I got everything you said, and don't get me wrong, I heard what you said.
I think he would have left. I still think he would have left because of.
You think he would have left?
Because of the politics of Bret Hart. I think he would have left sooner because he would have been angry. I mean, dude, the Warrior was all business until all of a sudden he wasn't. And obviously something had to change, and it was politics. And he probably was like, fuck this place. And Luger would have done the same thing. It's happening in wrestling now, you know. For whatever reason, the fucking bloom is back on the rose in the WWF, so people are happy there now. But people are like, fuck this place, the AEW, and the sooner they can get out of there, the better. Hopefully it's died down a little bit and they get some stability there. But once someone gets burned and other people find out why it happened, dude, look at Rick Rude. Rick Rude fucking quit when Bret Hart did that to Shawn, or when they did that to Bret, I'm sorry. And like I was saying, I get why people criticize Bret for not just losing the belt to Shawn. But they weren't there for the heat between the two of them. The fact that he said he would lose it to anyone but Shawn on Saturday Morning Superstars tells you it was Shawn, but he also didn't want to lose it in Montreal. Even as a kid, I understood. Bret Hart, when people talk about next Hulk Hogan, this guy around the world was bigger than Hogan, other than the United States. He's like the glam rock band that never makes it in L.A.
Well, that's according to Bret Hart. Again, we don't want to go with the hyperboles of what's happening right now because
when he gets off a plane in Saudi Arabia, and I'm sorry, India, and there's a million people waiting for him in the airport.
No, but again, in Bret Hart's eyes, that's one instance. But Hogan has the money, has the track record too, so it's the same thing. But now let's get back to the Luger factor here, because now reflection. Again, this is a little bit tricky because again, this is a lot of hypotheses. So let's just backtrack a little bit. TW Luger, after he's healed up with his elbow injury from that motorcycle accident, the first thing was he had to get out of that WCW contract. So that's why the WBF contract came first. So it was he pulled the okie doke, if you will, Reflectionites, on WCW, on Jim Herd, and on the executive committee at TBS. Neither here nor there. He then debuts January 1993 TW, of course, Royal Rumble, and he's called the Narcissist. So we got to go back into that hyperbole here because, again, the Narcissist kind of fit Lex Luger's character, as everybody says. It wasn't like, oh, they gave me the character of the Narcissist. I play what I'm known for. I'm playing what my gimmick is supposed to be, what my attitude and my reputation was supposed to be, TW. He was supposed to be narcissistic, and all that stuff. So it's supposed to have came easy. So it looked like, to me, I can gravitate towards something that was reality-based. They kind of overblew it with the mirror and the kind of flashy trunks and stuff. But again, that's WWE. That's being cartoony and all that stuff. And everything changed, and we see Hogan giving the foot to the Ultimate Warrior there. Then everything changed July 4th, 1993, while Yokozuna is the champion. And of course, they're trying to build a program for somebody to thwart Yokozuna. And obviously, TW, before we even, again, we're going to do the what if. It's funny because until Bret Hart, WrestleMania in 1994, what the hell are you doing?
I had the Warrior hold up for the press slam and he dropped him.
Reflectionites on the audios, TW's having a match with Hogan and the Warrior while I'm trying to do my spiel here. It's kind of distracting. But the YouTube people are going to, Tia Coupon's going to love this. And neither here nor there. But TW, again, July of 1993, while Yokozuna is the undisputed champion, Hogan's gone. And before even Bret Hart even sniffs at the chance of dethroning Yokozuna at WrestleMania 10, I think Vince McMahon had this quandary of like, who was going to be this superhero type of character to thwart Yokozuna? Agree, disagree, have a different take before that. Because, again, like you said, you can't make Hulk Hogan, but you're going to try. So you have Lex Luger. He's younger than Hogan. He's built, he's built better than Hogan. He doesn't have the 24-inch pythons, but he's 275. He's jacked and all that stuff. So, again, they switched up the narcissistic character of Lex Luger, which everybody hated. But, again, people gravitated. People believed it. Now you want me to believe that he's all-American.
He's Magnum TA. He's the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. He's Hulk Hogan all rolled up into one. There's a problem, TW. It wasn't organic. Hogan was organic. And he didn't have to flash the American Dream shit. He didn't have to flash, he was red, white, and blue. He didn't do the American flag all the time. American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, same thing. He talked about the American Dream. He talked about hard times. He gave you symbolisms. And, of course, Magnum TA was Magnum TA. He that was it. But he wasn't like Mr. America. I always found it funny, TW. Again, we'll do the what-if reflection. But, of course, we go front to back, side to side, and everything. But anybody being the American gimmick, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas comes to mind. Hacksaw Jim Duggan to a degree, but I think Hacksaw Jim Duggan kind of got away from him because don't fall into the trappings of wearing red, white, and blue because it is a career killer.
Absolutely.
Hacksaw got away with it with just the flag, which was okay. But
Sting got away. He did it one night only in July.
Well, he did it for Great American Bash purposes, and he only did it against Buddha in Japan. But I get what you're saying, yeah. But it's a career killer if you keep wearing it night in and night out. So let's say, and of course, Warrior wore it once, and then he lost. See, USA sucks. But what say you, TW, about the American gimmick? Because I think that was the biggest trapping of Lex Luger. That was kind of like holding it back.
It's a catch-22 because that's the other thing when I talk about influence. People, my friends, since Luger's probably the genesis of me wearing American flag stuff. Obviously, I'm happy and proud to be an American. I have my American flag on the wall, but all my American flag shirts and stuff like that, I wear pink because of Bret Hart, and I've been wearing it since the 90s before dudes were allowed to. I like to say I'm trailblazer in that aspect. He wore pink to wrestle. I wore the shit to school and in public. And then Lex, I still have the shirt I bought that looked just like Lex Luger's. I liked that he got the gimmick. I liked that his gear was the same as the Narcissist, but then red, white, and blue instead of silver, gray, and blue. And I liked all that. It looked good, but I hated that they made him hug women and kiss babies and shake hands and high five. I think in hindsight, like, this is far better. Like, this subtle, just, the American flag warrior paint, but he wore white, blue, and red accent. So if Luger could have just wore solid red like he already did in NWA with blue knee pads and white boots and then maybe some tassels that were red, white, and blue, he didn't have to be fucking Yankee Doodle Dandy. And right. I think what helped him was that it looked good on him. It was July. It was the summer. It was Americana. But I think just like when you get a flashy brand new yellow Corvette, it's awesome until you stare at that Corvette for about 6 months in a row and go, why the fuck did I get that color? It gets old quick. And I think it did with him. The only thing that revived it was when he became the Allied Powers with the Bulldog, and Bulldog matched him and had the British stuff matching the U.S. stuff. I like that. I actually like that a lot. And then, but other than that, I think it that whole thing, and I think partly because he lost, it killed his entire potential in WWF.
Gotcha. So now let's get into the what if. Let's just say the Slam catapulted Lex Luger's popularity. After Mags are going crazy, they're already ranking Luger as the top 10 babyface, top 10 wrestler of 1993 TW. And TW's proof positive that the Lex Express tour worked. Everybody, women were throwing red, white, and blue panties at him. The kids were kissing him, all that stuff. You get into SummerSlam, he's the man. Now, again, the sacrifice would be Yokozuna's heel run would have been thwarted very quick. But, again, Vince McMahon's vision, Reflectionites, in the what-if scenario was to create Hogan. So now he beats Yokozuna, slams him, and I want to say, TW, he slams him more convincingly, not the hip toss slam, but like the Hogan slam, like you said, he tore his pectoral muscles, and he did that. So he got a couple of weeks off. So now, TW, let's book him. What do you say? Let's book him till WrestleMania. I think the thing here, TW, for 1993 purposes, Luger's job as the WWE champ. Oh, let's be fair. We call it the WWF champion because 1993, there was no E. It was always about the F. We put the F back in. He's the WWF champion. He's got to, He's got to be the man for cable TV because it's a new spectrum now because you're phasing a little bit out of the syndication and you're going to hone in on the USA thing. So what say you, TW? Because what is the mission statement for Lex Luger for 1993 to 1994, maybe even to 1995, to build that kind of credibility with the fans, to build that credibility with USA Network, and to actually, I don't want to say eclipse Hulkamania, but you know where I'm going with, just to be the money train that Vince McMahon desperately needs?
Well, for one, I think he wins the belt from Yoko end of August, and then the rematch is Survivor Series. Because back then they built 3 months, whatever. I think in that 3 months, he should have had another Lex Express tour. The thank you to the fans, like coming out with the belt, letting everyone touch it, and saying, "Hey, because you guys supported me on the crowdfund, whatever I was gonna say."
Hold up for a second. So he already did his 6-week tour to beg for a match.
Right.
And hypothetically, he was already like bitching and moaning and complaining. You want him to go back on the bus? This is
imagination, right? So,
yeah.
But I'm saying the right thing to do
is to put him on the bus again. Right.
The alternative would be, instead of going back out on the road on the bus,
okay,
every town they're in, he goes to Walmart or Kmart and sits at a table and everyone comes, but you still put him in the Marriott. He's still traveling by plane or limo, whatever.
Okay. I get you. I'm just laughing because it was like, I'm thinking about the bus first and he was already miserable. Now you want to make him
I was going to do it in the cold months. So, yeah. So, but what I'm saying is, hypothetically, you're asking me what builds this machine.
Yeah.
The thank you tour, because I got the match and I won the belt, this is our belt. Which is basically saying we're the people's champion without saying we're the people's champion. Then people get behind him. Then he beats Yokozuna convincingly. Not only does he beat him convincingly, Fuji has all his guys come out and Luger thwarts all of them and then still ends up basically beating Yokozuna with the deck stack, again with the body slam.
Okay, wait.
Or
hold
with that
hold that thought. Let's see. In 1993, Jim Cornette, because I want to retrace our steps here, because Crush didn't become a heel. I understand the stable, but Crush didn't become a heel until 94. So it didn't. So there was really not a lot of, the only heelish people that Luger could probably have to been thwarted with the Heavenly Bodies, because that was the only thing that off the top of my head.
Fuji had the Heavenly Bodies?
No, Cornette had the Heavenly Bodies in 93.
Right. Oh, Cornette was with Yokozuna.
Yeah. Okay. Cornette was the advisor.
The best thing about those two, they're both hobbits. He can just destroy them at the same time, like to look even more, like that makes him look big, and then Yokozuna makes him look small, but he still slams them, hits him with the flying burrito, and pins him convincingly, celebrates. Then going into Royal Rumble, he's still all about the people. He you interviews with him and stuff. You don't let him wrestle on TV because you got to make it special. Every now and again, maybe you throw him in a tag match with somebody.
Well, he's got to be on. He's got to be on Raw. Reflection. I said at least promo his ass off with the belt, and maybe get new challenges. And of course, like you said, to Survivor Series, he's got to talk about kicking Yokozuna's ass and kicking all the stooges that Cornette and Fuji will throw at him to get to that point. Like you said, he thwarts Yokozuna. The rematch is over with. So now you build up to Royal Rumble. So it's not about him now. Technically, he's waiting for that new opponent. So we'll hold off for that second. So who do you build for Royal Rumble, or do you kind of extend Yokozuna to do a cage match?
You could have Yoko win that Royal Rumble.
The title?
No, have him win the Royal Rumble.
Okay.
Fight him at WrestleMania.
No, but Luger has to defend his title. That's why I said, do you want to do Yoko again in the main event?
No, you have Crush turn, become Dark
earlier.
Because you have to feed him big men.
Okay.
You got to bring back Isaac Yankem. You got to bring back Fake Diesel. You got to, Diesel wasn't even there yet, but you know what I mean. You got to.
I get you. You know what would have been here's where my scenario would have been. Let's play devil's advocate here, TW. You have Undertaker kind of like have the itch to be the champion again. He's not a heel. He's not a face.
Kills Luger.
Why would I immediately kill
Because the
Luger?
fans are siding with Undertaker no matter what, unless he does something despicable to, like, if it's just him wants the belt, it's face versus face. I think Brett derails the Lex Express if they have face versus face. Face versus face ruins shit. Like as big as the pop was in Toronto for winning the world title, Warrior, it half booed him because people were mad that he beat Hogan. So you need it to be someone that they're going to cheer that he won flat out. Like nobody.
The only one that would make sense, TW, at that time, and I'm trying to be, I get the Crush scenario, but like I said, realistically, Crush turned heel in 94. I get where you're saying turn him heel earlier, but I guess Vince wanted to try the Kona Crush thing and thought that was going to make money. Neither here nor there. The only guy that makes sense, if he was still there, was the Giant Gonzalez. Would that have worked for you for Royal Rumble?
Yep. It would be horrible. It would be hideous. And it would be boring as fuck. But it would signify, like, I know I always end up bringing modern wrestling, but I watched the Omos versus 4 guys on Raw and push Braun Strowman out of the ring thing. And I like that those two are being pitted against each other, but Omos is terrible. Like, you would think squashing 4 guys would make him look like $1 million. He looked even greener to me in there. Like he was just waiting for cues. That's how bad Giant Gonzalez was. Omos is probably better than Giant Gonzalez. But Giant Gonzalez was absolutely, oh, over here? Okay. And then he did it, and just there's a reason he wasn't around long. He just wasn't good. So you're almost on dangerous grounds then. I mean, bring Bundy back. Bring guys back in to just
you could hypothetically bring Bundy back for the Hogan effect and for, like you said, Luger to get the big man
Rumble and just dismiss him early, setting up for the rematch at WrestleMania with Yoko, where everybody would probably assume he's going to lose to Yoko because he won it in SummerSlam, defended it at Survivor, and then ducked him for 4 months, and now he has to defend it, and then he beats him again, and he goes away. Yoko goes away, but back then they did stuff like that where they drawn out programs for 6-8 months, and you could have Yoko make him lose a non-title match to somebody, to say, hey, I want another rematch, and you won't give it to him because you got your rematch. You don't get another one. You got to give other people. And I could almost see, because you're trying to make him goody two-shoes, you could almost see him giving shots to a guy like Tatanka or a guy like 1-2-3 Kid or a guy who never got a shot, and then they wrestle a clean match. He wins. They shake hands and goes, all right, man, one day you'll get there. But it can't be against Taker. It can't be against Brett. It can't be against Scott Hall. You know what I mean? Anybody who's as popular as him or more popular is killing him. But someone up and coming, you could
the only person of big aspect would be Giant Gonzalez, Yoko, maybe Kamala was there, but then they were trying to make him a good guy. And Diesel, he was around in late '93, but he was kind of green to wrestle, so he wasn't wrestling yet until the Royal Rumble, where he got his shine there. So I'm just trying to get the big man aspect for you, TW, at that time. But you're right about the Kona, about Crush turning heel earlier. I agree with you here. Let me ask you this question, because again, we could book him until WrestleMania, and you already said Yoko could win the Royal Rumble, and then they could have another rematch. The SummerSlam rematch or the Survivor Series rematch again. Was Sid around in '94? Sid was in WCW a little bit, and then something happened, and then he left, went into the Indies, and then got back to the WWE late '94. So no.
Yeah, '96. He was Sean's Psycho Sid. He replaced Diesel.
No, he was there in '90. He was there in '94, not like later '94. He was there. So I'm trying to give I'm going to ask you this scenario, TW. Do you give Lex Luger a 1-year straight run, or do you give Lex Luger multiple, like he loses and then regains the belt? Which way would you book him for the money check? Is the money holding the belt, or is the money like losing to somebody, whether it's fuck finish, whether it's chicanery, where is the straight up? Whatever the case may be, in your humble opinion, does he become multiple time champion in the WWE? What say you?
He could have very well, that wasn't the formula back then. Well, it started to be once Brett got it. But, I mean, Hogan ended up having it, 4 times? But
by the time he left, it was 4 times. 4 or 5 times the most.
Brett's 4 or 5. So when Brett won it in September of 92, was it 93 when that Hogan shit happened?
Yeah, he lost it.
Beat him?
Yeah, WrestleMania 9.
Months. So same difference. He just didn't lose it to Flair. So this is the problem. Mr. Vince McMahon isn't used to business being this down. And of course he has to blame it on Brett because Brett is the champ.
Small. He's small.
No, not that, but that's got to be the reason. But then they put it on Yoka. They don't draw anymore. They put it back on Hogan. Doesn't draw anymore. And that's how they ended up back on who it was Yoko. Yoko got it right after that, and Hogan left the cameraman angle at King of the Ring. So I think if anything, Luger wins it at SummerSlam and gets screwed out of it at Survivor Series. Doesn't get to do the rematch. He doesn't get it. Wins the Royal Rumble and gets the shot at Mania, where he gets the belt and probably gets it for a year.
Okay.
That's what I think happens in that scenario. I don't think they take it from him at Mania because they like the happy ending at Mania. They don't like the heel going home with the belt.
So the best scenario would have been winning at SummerSlam, losing it, fuck finish Survivor Series, going into the Royal Rumble, and defeating all odds. Maybe he comes in at number 3 or number 5, works his way to win the respect of the crowd.
Great spot to turn Crush heel would have been at Survivor Series to make him lose to Yokozuna. So then Royal Rumble, maybe the last 2 in there are Crush and Luger. Luger wins it, gets his title match, and wins it back at WrestleMania. And then in the meantime, he's got to wrestle. He wrestles Crush at Backlash or whatever the In Your House is in between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. All
right. So, there's many hyperbole. So you and I kind of see it the same way, that he has to be at least a 2-time WWE heavyweight champion, because, again, you can't have the 4-year Hogan run. You can't have the 6-year Backlund run. You can't have the 8-year Bruno run. It just doesn't work in the 90s. It just doesn't work in today's, fickle microwave fans of today. So it just wouldn't have worked. So you and I are on the same page of Luger being a multiple-time champion. So let's change it up, TW. I want to give you a wild card here with Luger. You know how you love that angle in SummerSlam 1994, the Luger, Tatanka, and $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase thing? You remember that? You always love that.
You're being sarcastic, right?
No, actually, I'm not being sarcastic, because I want to flip it here. Follow me here, TW.
No, I don't love it. I think it ruined Lex because the fans bought it.
No, you bought it. Yeah, but that's why you love it, because the fans bought it, and it kind of tricked for everybody. But follow me here, TW, because now you're thinking about this, right? Think about it from this scenario, right? Because I think it would have worked in this way. Follow me here. So Luger did the slam, but you know what the thing is? He was very dead silent. He didn't talk about America. He didn't talk about America until, he wasn't taking, let's just say he wasn't taking press. He wasn't taking interviews after the slam. He said what he said on the boat, right, TW? He said everything about America, and he built that momentum, but he kept quiet like Goldberg. Lo and behold, this swerve was being concocted by Lex Luger and James E. Cornette. You get where I'm going here?
Yep.
James E. Cornette, who's already the advisor to Mr. Fuji and Yokozuna, being the American translator and the American businessman and associate, it was all a ruse to get Luger in the position at SummerSlam to take the title away from Yokozuna. So in essence, you're rehealing, I don't know if that's a word, but no matter what, you're rehealing Lex Luger, but he's not the narcissist. He's just, you don't call him the total package, but you carry that WCW mode. It's like him winning the WCW title at Great American Bash 91 when he had Harley Race. Now he just has James E. Cornette by his side. Might look a little bit weird.
Was Bobby not with him no more?
No, Bobby was on his way out. Bobby was on his way out to WCW at that time.
Okay. So Lex was already without Bobby, so they almost had to do something with him.
Right. So that's where you get see where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I like it.
James Cornette is the guy. He re-healed him. So now you take your monster and Yokozuna, and now you turn babyface a little bit quicker than you ever anticipated. So what say you, TW, about that scenario of the what ifs and of the what ifs?
How did the face Yokozuna run go? Because I don't even remember it.
It was horrible when James E. Cornette betrayed Yokozuna, and because James E. Cornette chose Vader over Yoko, and that's what turned that. They had that little program in 1996.
Okay, so
basically, you're sacrificing Yokozuna for the potential of the heel run that you and I knew that Luger had in WCW, which kind of worked. He's better as a heel. He probably drew money more as a heel. So right. It is what it is. So what
he was more of a Flair than a Hogan. He was more of a Flair with Hogan's body is what he was.
Right. So let's say you like that scenario, like the double turn on Yokozuna, betraying Mr. Fuji, and you could still, carry this to Survivor Series and at least have at least one more rematch, but Luger has to win because he is the heel now. So now he's, he has the room to cheat. He has the room to shortcut. He has the room to Yoko can have, the babyface push if you want, but then it comes up way, way short. Does that work for you?
And you still can turn Crush heel and put him with Lex and Cornette.
Mm-hmm. And Lex needs a bodyguard, you can say.
Stable. Yeah, you start building a stable. The only problem with Crush being his bodyguard is he's bigger than Crush. So that was
no, but I get what you're saying. You need that muscle to protect your champion. You got to get to him. You got to get through him to get to the man. So I get where you're going with that.
That leads to a longer Lex Luger WWE career because I think that works. He's got Jim Cornette as the mouthpiece. He talks in snippets because he's better than Goldberg, but not much when he's talking. And, that stuff with Harley, that was another, like you said, it was good. And
it was another dimension that, at least it protected Luger from talking a longer time. Again, like you're right. Luger's promos.
And I think the reason people I think the difference between him and Hogan, what I think why people liked Hogan is the same reason why they like Dusty Rhodes. It's going to sound weird, but it's like the dudes in your DMs, right? Hulk Hogan and Dusty Rhodes aren't pretty, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. They're regular dude. He's massive, he's a big dude. He's a white guy that looks black if you don't see his face. So he looks like the common man who just happens to be a monster. Dusty Rhodes flat out looks like the common man, but he's bigger than most guys, right? So I think, and they could talk. They could jive, brother, and people loved them. I think with Luger and with Brett and with Shawn and with Flair is they were handsome men. You knew those guys could pull hose, if you will. And so it made it easy to not like them because as a guy, you're like, screw that guy. I'm better than that guy. I get this girl. And then the girls are like, that's the kind of guy that screws girls over, blah, 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 blah. So it's easy to hate him. And then if you can talk and egg him on to hate you even more, and that's what Jim Cornette would do for him. Flair did it on his own. It's money. It's money. And then it's no coincidence that the guy who inevitably became the next Hogan, if you will, as far as drawing, was Austin, because what was he? He was what everybody wanted to be, the guy that told his boss to take a hike, and he did it. So he came out, and he was a bald guy, so he wasn't long, flowing hair. He had a big body, but he still looked like he drank some beer and ate some burgers. So he looked like the dude you'd hang out and play horseshoes with. And I think and girls were just like, oh, I love him. And I thank him to this day because he created a whole new section of fans of bald-headed dudes. And I get chicks all the time telling me they like me better bald than when I had hair. And so I credit him for that. So I think with Luger and Hogan, I think that's the difference. Is it's easy to like Hogan when you think he looks like Shrek, for lack of a better word. And I don't think he was not handsome, but he was balding and he was hanging on to that shit for dear life. But he didn't look pretty boy at all. whereas everyone else is. Luger's got the robes. Flair's got the robes. Terry Taylor's got the robes. So he never really, I mean, then you got Rock and Roll Express, who are pretty boys, but they're tiny and got their asses kicked all the time, and that's what made people endeared to them. And they dress like people at a bar going to a rock show. So it's just, there's so many little tiny things you could change and do that would make somebody better as a heel or better as a face. And Luger's just one of those guys, I think. He just wasn't
better
meant
as a heel.
to be a face. Yeah, he just wasn't meant to be a face.
That's why I think it would have drew better if they did the double turn there at SummerSlam with the help of James D. Cornette. Like you said, they would recycle what happened in WCW. But again, Jim Cornette's the mouthpiece, like you said. Luger could wear his suits. He could come. I think he's more confident when he's a heel.
Yes.
You can see it project.
You know what they say the best wrestling characters are? You turned up to 10. So if you just go out and be yourself, and so like me as a heel, I'm not really an asshole. I mean, some people will disagree, but I'm funny. And so as a heel, I was funny by being an asshole. It made people laugh because they're laughing at the person I was being an asshole to. So at the end of the day, you're right. Luger was 100% more comfortable as a heel. But to be fair, I would tell you, most people would prefer being a heel.
Of course.
100%.
We know this all the time. Let me ask you this. Okay, so you said, so now if Luger did the turn with Yokozuna, you actually think he could actually hold the belt for a year without losing it? So who would take it from him? I guess you get Bret Hart.
Sami Zayn would finally be the guy to take it from him, and the place would erupt.
With who?
Oh, I went back to the future.
Oh, okay.
Brett would be the perfect guy. You basically
what about Shawn?
All these years that Vince tried to create the next Hogan, when the problem is people been there, done that, got the T-shirt. If you bring a Flair there and it's not Flair, you make Luger your Flair. A, it's new, and B, you don't have to worry about finding your next Hogan. That guy is going to make your next Hogan, because if he does his job as a heel, no matter who beats him, the place will go banana. And you make the guy who beats him humongous, especially if you draw it out. Like I said, when Roman Reigns finally loses that belt to Sami Zayn.
It's going to be big.
But it won't be as big if it ain't Sami Zayn. It has to be Sami Zayn. If not Sami, Kevin Owens with help from Sami Zayn, but it's got to happen. And think about how long he's had that belt. People are starting to like him. So you got to do it soon. Otherwise, you're wrecking the guy that beats him, because they're going to be mad that Roman lost if they get too much into him.
So on the flip side, with Brett taking it from a heel Lex Luger in the stable, would you do it at WrestleMania 10, or would you extend Luger's run to make him lose at WrestleMania 11?
I would do it at SummerSlam, 1 full year, kind of like they did with Sting. Comes out at the Raptors at Starrcade 96, or Starrcade? Is that what it is, 96?
97.
No, that's when he wrestled, but he came out of the Raptors at Starrcade 96. It was a whole year.
No.
How long did he go without wrestling?
He didn't come off the Raptors until 97. He started that in the United Center. So he came from the crowd in 96, but he didn't come from the Raptors.
Where was he sitting up in the Raptors? I don't mean drop down.
Oh.
I mean, where was he first spotted in the Raptors? It was Starrcade 96.
No, it was a Nitro.
Okay, so Nitro, but around Starrcade. It was almost a full year that he didn't wrestle.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's what.
So Hogan's running roughshod over everybody, but it's not Sting that he's beating up. And then a year later, Sting finally wrestles, beats him for the belt. It would be similar to that, except for it would be Luger beating everybody, probably screws Brett a couple times, and then finally Brett gets him in the same way that I said. Fights off. I think, the perfect way to book it would be the ghost of Brett's past, right? As Luger and him are fighting at SummerSlam, and Crush interferes, Brett takes him out, and then another guy comes out, and out of nowhere, there's the Bulldog taking that guy out. The Bulldog hops the rail, helps him. Then the next guy, like the second heavenly body, comes out. There's Owen to take out him, and it's you know what I mean? It's like we are the world against the other world, and then Brett wins, and those guys throw him up on the shoulder, And the
Right.
balloons come down pink and black this time, not red, white, and blue. And everybody wins. And then you still got another year where they can fight for it back and forth.
Hey, like I said, Vince, you should have talked to us back then. I was younger. We're in our teen years, but I think we had this kind of thinking. We were watching this a lot, TW, so you and I are on the same page because this could work for Lex Luger. I think even Luger would have been like, yes, why did y'all book this? Why didn't you do this? I would have.
That narcissist crap.
Yeah, so.
And you put me in a suit and a robe. I'm telling you, it's so, because basically right now, if we're being honest, it's a different style of wrestling. It's a different style of look and talking. Roman Reigns is Ric Flair. He's only champion because his cousins help him keep the belt. And they're officially the fucking Four Horsemen now with Solo there. Then you got the honorary Uso, and they got the manager, J.J. Dillon, is Paul Heyman.
It's 80s style. You're right. It's 80s style booking with the champion leading the bunch and the soldiers behind him protecting the champion. It's a great formula. It's cyclical. Reflection Nights is so cyclical. So, TW, you are 100% right. But before we close, I remember you said something eloquently last time on the PWR podcast. You actually said, when I said we were going to do the Lex Luger what if, you said something would have changed in your trajectory of you in the business of wrestling. Do you remember that, or do you want to expound on that, or am I putting you on the spot?
I meant Brett. It would have made me not, this tattoo would not be on my arm because I 100% believe Brett would have sabotaged Lex Luger's run.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't know if the trajectory...
And I don't mean it in the way that things went down with Shawn. He just didn't want to lose the belt to Shawn, right?
Oh, okay.
That's different. He didn't want to kill Shawn's career. He just didn't want to add to it. He would have absolutely been like, dude, Lex isn't drawn. Lex isn't doing this. Take the belt off Lex. Much the same way as Hogan was like, Warrior's not drawn, brother. Put the belt on. Put the belt on Slaughter, and then we'll do the American gimmick, and I'll take the belt back from him. And you know what? I don't even remember. Is that where he lost it to Yokozuna, Hogan?
Hogan lost it to Yoko at King of the Ring, 93.
After he beat Slaughter for it, or after he beat Yoko for it?
No, after he beat Yoko at WrestleMania 9.
He beat Slaughter in 91, 92.
Right, 91.
I was in high school. Desert Storm. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Who did Hogan lose it to after beating Slaughter?
Undertaker.
Oh, yeah. Survivor?
Yes. That
was his debut? Where Flair put the chair under the...
No, that wasn't his debut. He was already a year into the WWE.
No, I didn't mean the debut. He was with DiBiase in 87, 88, 90?
90. Wow, TW.
So this Tuesday...
You took a lot of headshots, man.
I remember Flair being... Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's when Flair got there. It was late 91 because that's when Luger won the belt from Wyndham. And then 92 Royal Rumble he won. I'm trying to figure out how Flair's there in 91 when 92 was his Rumble. I'm like, oh, shit. It was in the Rumble because Flair put the chair. By the way, I was there for that match. Flair, it was Survivor Series in Detroit. Flair put the chair and he tombstone Hogan on the chair and won the belt. I've been there for 2 Undertaker World Title victories, including his first. That's insane that I don't remember that.
It must be the chair shot you took in your Los Rudos days, but neither here nor there. I just wanted to make sure because I didn't know if it was your fandom or the trajectory of your fandom in wrestling or the trajectory of the TW wrestling career. If you wanted to pattern your life to Bret Hart or you pattern your life to Luger.
It would have changed my wrestling because I would have done none of the stuff that I did from Bret. I wouldn't have done the backbreaker and the forearm off the rope. I wouldn't have inadvertently come out like this, not realizing I was doing it until my buddies were like, hey, dude, you come out shaking your arms like Bret Hart, right? And I'm wearing a leather jacket on top of it. I felt more like I was imitating Shawn with the leather jacket than Bret. But
so if Luger won the WWF title in 1993, you would have tried to pattern it as Luger?
No.
Oh, okay.
Luger still would have had his influence. Bret still would have had his influence because by then I'm all in on Bret. I'm all in on Bret.
Oh, okay. That's where I wanted to make sure. I was just wanted to make sure.
But I'm saying I would have soured on Bret.
Business-wise, I get the business-wise you would have soured on it. I thought you're...
Much like I think one of the main reasons why I can't just flat out call Shawn Michaels my favorite of all time or the best of all time is he did a lot of shady shit that I can't get past. right? So, whereas Brett, the one thing he did that everyone criticizes him for, I'm 100% in his corner for it because he did it to stand up for something. Because if you recall, I mean, when Al Snow first got there, he would tell stories. I wouldn't hear him from Al, but I would hear him from people he told. You know, I don't know if you remember this, but those guys would pick on people. And then finally they all got together one day and like, fuck it, let's get them. And I can't remember who it was. They grabbed the Harris brothers, the twin dudes, beat the shit out of Shawn Michaels in the locker room. And Al Snow said all the other guys stood there so Nash and Hunter and X-Pac couldn't do shit about it. Like, if you get in there, the rest of us are coming in there too. It was Kangaroo Court. They were sick of that dude's shit, and the Harris brothers beat the fuck. I want to say that whole story where Shawn got beat up by the Marines was actually the Harris brothers beat him up, and they made that story up to explain his black eye and all that stuff. But they were messing with Sonny. They were messing with Candido. They were like one of the stories is they were on
maybe Shawn got beat up twice. You know, the Marine thing is true, but maybe the Harris thing was a different. That's where maybe he lost his smile. So we don't know the timeline, if you will.
Right.
So with that being said, we close on another What If. TW, we did what we needed to do. We went a little bit extra, but we got what we needed. We got the 50 minutes that the professor wanted to keep it short, to keep it sweet, and we got a couple of what if scenarios that kind of pops in the Reflectionites' minds. So if you have a way to book it, leave those comments on the YouTubes, leave the comments on the PWR Facebook fan page. I know Donnie will leave a comment. I know maybe Phil Scott Wood will leave a comment, but other Reflectionites, we welcome all the comments of the what ifs. And of course, TN Couponer, he's going to leave a bunch of comments on the YouTubes. So with that being said, TW, give out those socials so we can get out of here. And we're going to be off on hiatus for 1 week because TW is doing a Bumble tour, so I don't have to say any more.
All right. So, obviously, the PW... By the way, I got a question for you. It says Pro Wrestling Reflection on our Facebook page, not Pro Wrestling Reflection. All this time I've been calling it wrestling. Why does it say wrestling and not wrestling, Mr. Big Ray? I'm sure it's his fault.
Spell check. It's called spell check.
So you guys didn't catch it?
No, we just accepted it. That's
Half
all.
the time I write on the Hustle, I'm trying to write on the PW podcast, but I see PW and just click on it and don't read. I'm like, oh, well, you get more people responding on the Hustle anyway. So anyway, the PW Reflection is the Twitter handle for that. And Big Ray, of course, is at Big Ray Hernandez, both on Twitter and on TikTok. He's been slacking on TikTok, or they're just not showing it to me. Maybe I've been slacking. I don't know.
Well, you know, the Yankees lost, so maybe he's a little bit upset. You know, he's
I
a little
wanted
bit
to pair
depressed.
both of you guys up because you're not as bad as him, but as soon as they lost, you're like, they suck, get them out of here, blah, blah, blah. Ray just goes quiet after talking mad shit about the Mets and everybody else. So they got swept?
Yes.
Yeah, you wrote they're going to be swept, but it was like 2 hours before I read it. So, all right, so Hameen Media Group at podbean.com. Then you have bigvitobrand.wixsite.com, patreon.com/the Big Vito Brand. And then mine are at TommyWonder19, our Instagram and political Twitter. At the Tommy Wonder is TikTok and regular Twitter. Facebook.com/Tommy Wonder. Snapchat #Wonder. And supposedly the Dum Dum Duo and an Idiot on YouTube is about to get the wheels rolling here. Now that kids are back at school, we got weeknights we can do stuff on. So we're supposed to be doing soon.
We are patiently waiting for you to, you know, go to the bathroom with your Dum Dum Duo and an Idiot's eating habits. So neither here nor there. So you can find me on my Twitter at PWSOPRF. That's PWSOProf. And of course, if this gets uploaded by 8-Track Brown, this will be on the PWSO YouTube networks. Of course, follow my guys, the king of the reactions, 8-Track Brown, at the number 8, TRAC Brown. And of course, the man with the documents, Mr. Infinite Fringe himself, Billy Ray Valentine at Obi-Wan You Know Me. And of course, we're going to take a week off because TW's on his Bumble tour. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And I'll keep you on your toes. Episodic, rivalries, spotlight, movies, what ifs.
Movie.
I'm
ready for a movie.
You ready for a movie? Well, you know what, man? I'm out again. The professor will have to think about it, but I'll probably find a movie or maybe an episode or something wrestling related. So with that being said, I'm the professor. That's Mr. Wonderful, the Tommy Wonder, saying good night, and we'll see you in 2 weeks here on the PWR podcast at the PWR Networks on the YouTubes. Peace.
Ooh.
What the hell is that?
Frank it.
Okay.
Remember, it's Halloween.